Hello, everyone. Welcome to our video session on why SMBs shouldn't use personal email for work. This will help enhance your security, your professionalism, and your business communications. We are Alpha Tech Computer Solutions here in Mesa, Arizona, where our mission is to digitally protect and serve you. I'm the president, Jaret Carlson, and all our contact information is there on the screen for you. If you want to reach out in the future, have any questions, please feel free. Our agenda today: risk and limitations of using personal email for business, steps on setting up professional email system, core benefits of a professional email system, and practical scenarios and tips for a successful transition. Now, my plan is to not read every slide to you. We're going to keep this very conversational. I'm going to go through, I'll give you extra little tidbits and stories from my history. I've been doing IT for about 3 decades now, and I've seen it all, been a part of it all almost. And I've definitely seen a lot of companies using personal emails and how it's hurt them in the long run, sometimes very detrimentally. So let's get right into it here. So first things first, we're going to start with the risks and limitations of using personal email for business. Security. I mean, most residential nowadays, like if you get a Gmail or a Hotmail or a Yahoo, they're still going to have two-form authentication, but you're not really in control of all the security that can be put in place on that email system. It's ran by some large company that, you don't have access to all the settings in the background. You can't attach any of your own extra email security, like anti-phishing protection. The other one, and this is probably the most important to me personally, is the risk of data loss. You can't easily back up a residential or personal email account. Where if you have a business email account, say through Microsoft 365, you can use third-party apps to actually back up, cloud-to-cloud backup, and you can back up all your emails, all the transactions and everything, so that you never have a risk of an employee deleting it all on the way out the door, or actually the hosting company losing it all. I've seen that in the past too. It's horrible. One of the other big ones of one of the other big reasons for not using a personal email address is if an employee leaves the company. So if you have everybody in your company using a residential personal Gmail or just Hotmail, whatever, and they leave the company, because that was a residential service or an individual use service, they own that email address still. And when they left, they just left with all those communications. We had a case where a general manager left and it was not amicable, and there was a big fight, and they would not release the email address back to the company or all the contents of the email, the mailbox. And it was a big fight. They ended up having to pay money to this person to get them to release the password. And Google, it was Gmail, and Google wouldn't do anything about it. They said, look, that's just an individual account, and they own that account, not you. It doesn't matter that you had the name of your business in the beginning part before the @ they own it, not you. And now it's between you and them, or it's a civil matter. It's not nothing to do with us. And it was a big problem for this company because it was the general manager, and a lot of the online accounts were set up under there. It was not good. So, not only can you not add your own extra security services onto the system, you're also not in control of it. So it leaves the company and it's gone. So another big one that I've seen small vendors I went to go work with, and they replied back with a Gmail. Typically it was like my landscaper or just a plumbing service or just a service, and it was a 1 or 2 man show, and they were still using a residential email address or just an individual account, and it was a Gmail. I think I've even seen a Yahoo, and I've even seen this at lawyers. So no industry is safe from this. I've seen this all over the place. I've even seen people using an AOL.com email address. It really lowers your credibility right out the door. Most people, when they're working with you, they're going to think, whatever you start with when you're presenting to them, that the service level is going to be exactly the same. And if you're coming up with a residential email address, it's just, you're automatically getting ticked down on the scale on if you can be trusted or not. You're also not helping with your brand at all. You're not helping develop your company name and keeping it resonated with all these people out there by using a Gmail. You're helping the Google brand, the Gmail brand, or the Hotmail brand instead of your brand. So very important. You want your name out there, and you want people to go find your website. Hopefully you have one of those too. That's a topic for another day, but definitely should have a website also. And it builds trust. People automatically think, okay, they know what they're doing. Even you would think it's just an email address, that it's not that big of a deal, but it really is. And it builds trust, helps your brand, has a big impact. Actually, I've been using email since the 90s, and anytime I worked with a business and they don't have their business name as the email address, the at xyzcompany.com, I instantly start to think less of them. Even if they're a great company, I don't know that yet, and it just, even if I already know them ahead of time, as soon as I see that, it kind of, I get a little, Another big one that I've ran into, I've seen this in the insurance industry. I was working with an insurance broker once, and they emailed me from a residential email address. I'm not going to name any names, but this, can go against compliance and regulatory standards for your industry. You have to get, if you're like under HIPAA, let's say, for instance, and you're a doctor's office, you need to get a signature from your email hosting provider. If you're ever going to be sending out personal health information or PII or PHI, protected information that's governed by regulatory bodies, you need to get a signature from the hosting company saying that they understand you have HIPAA or, safeguarded compliance emails coming through here. And they have to take special precautions on their end to make sure your data is protected. If you're just using a regular Gmail account, you do not get that. Hotmail, I'm not meaning to pick on Gmail. I mean any residential. They are not going to sign that agreement. They're going to tell you, no, that's against our acceptable use. You need to go with another hosting company or get it hosted. So if you're in an industry, please, you should know, if you're under regulations, you can get fines. It could be bad. You need to use a protected email system. This is more of a personal, deal here. When I say personal, I mean like individual accountability. There's danger in using your personal email address that you use for everyday, emailing friends and family and signing up for that online gaming service or whatever it is. I've seen people accidentally send an email to a customer thinking that they were emailing their best friend or their sibling or whoever, a family member, and said some stuff that was really embarrassing once it got in front of a customer, or you accidentally leak a personal document to a business, or, it can cause miscommunications, accidental data sharing, and it just complicates matters and clutters up your inbox with things that are not work related. A good goal in a business environment, especially if you have employees, is you want that mailbox to be actionable items, communications that are critical to getting the job done, important communications with clients, actionable emails, not fluff, not spam, not newsletters. There's ways in business email to filter all that kind of stuff down to subfolders so it's not cluttering up your inbox. And if you're using a personal mailbox, and if it's even your one you use in your personal life for everything, this can just get really congested really fast. Definitely suggest not doing this. That's going to be the theme throughout the whole video, honestly. But yeah, look at these risks. These can happen. I've seen these things happen, and it is not good. It leads to embarrassment. So how do you fix it? What do you do? Where do you even get started? Hopefully you're working with an IT person, an IT company, even if it's a sole proprietorship and it's somebody working out of their house, but they specialize and focus on technology and IT. Cannot say enough. You need somebody like that on your side. They're in the know. They're seeing this stuff all the time. They're working through it. It's going to take them a lot less time to get you set up, and it's going to be set up right, hopefully. Okay, first things first, you got to purchase a domain name. This is an important first step, and it's hard because everybody's buying up all the names on the internet. Luckily, a lot of these providers like GoDaddy, Bluehost, Network Solutions, there's a lot of places out there. I believe in if you don't go with Microsoft 365, which is my personal favorite, but you go with like Google Workplace, Google Business Apps, they change the name all the time. They'll help you buy a domain name sometimes right there when you're setting up your account even. And it's not hard. I like GoDaddy. It's easy. You go on there, you put in the name you want. It tells you if it's available or not. You give them your credit card and it's yours. And we're talking like $10 to $20 a year, not a month, a year. So very, very affordable to get your own name. Like ours, for instance, we're Alpha Tech Computer Solutions. We got just Alpha Tech, but then Alpha Tech in general is a very popular name worldwide. So we ended up having to go with alphatechaz for Arizona.com. So you can do little kinds of tricks to get that name that you want, even if you have a really popular name for your business. I also recommend keeping it short and concise. The shorter, the better. You don't want some super long address that people have to type in to email you every time. Honestly, after the first time, it should autofill, but it's just best to avoid that. Have a nice clean name. Keep it as short as you can. Normally does good. Don't do anything too silly. You want to be professional, but it helps establish your online identity. It starts to get you going. I've even had vendors where if you didn't already have a website set up to become a partner with that vendor, they wouldn't work with you, unfortunately. And, just gives a lot of credibility to your company having a domain name. So along with the email, hopefully somebody else did a video on how to do a website, but you definitely need to get a website going too. But email is the best place to start. So, okay, you got the domain name. What do you do now? My personal favorite's Microsoft 365. Towards the end, we'll go into more reasons why I believe this is the case and what I like about it. But you really want to find just a trustworthy email hosting service. You can normally look up their down statistics and how often they've been down. Most hosting companies like Network Solutions, GoDaddy, Bluehost, 2Cows, if you buy your domain name from them, they will have a very affordable email system. It'll be like POP or IMAP is what it's called. And you'll be able to, go to a webmail, plug it into Outlook, use it on your phone. These email systems are a little dated. Those, if you're doing POP or IMAP, it's not as solid as a more modern system like the Google Business Apps or the Microsoft 365. They just have, it's more of like an exchange server is what it's called on the backside. And it just has a lot more power and scalability to it. It makes it easier transferring from device to device. The settings are very easy when you go with either Google or Microsoft. You can use their hosting providers, but it will most likely be POP or IMAP. Really clunky old school systems, unfortunately. But you want to make sure they have security features. You want to make sure they have multi-factor authentication. They're encrypting your email when it's at rest on the back end. Very protected. Hackers want this stuff. Most people don't realize it, but 93% of cyber attacks happen over email. 93%. The more employees you have, the more that risk goes up because you have more people using email, and you really want security features. And then, like I was just saying, scalability. You want to be able to have large mailboxes. You have to offboard an employee. You want a system that's really easy to keep their mail somewhere so that other employees can access it. So you want to look at features. And we'll talk more about Microsoft 365 features and why I like it so much coming up here in a little bit. All right, so you got your domain name, you picked a host. Next step is creating your users. Go through and come up with a name format that really makes a sense for your business. My personal favorite is first name dot last initial. I also like first initial last name. If you're a really small company and you never plan on being more than 5 to 10 employees, maybe even 20 or 30, you can do this still. A first name only. Really depends on if you have a lot of people with the same first and last name, same first name. But personally, I like first initial last name or first name dot last initial. Some places do both. It ends up being a little long then sometimes, but first initial last name is very common, very easy to do too. We talked about this before. You want multi-factor authentication and data encryption when your data is at rest. Some places, depending on if you have regulations or not, you need encryption on the sending of the email itself too. And some service providers have that built in, so that's pretty nice. Another key point, make an individual mailbox for every single person that works in your company. Both Google Business Apps and Microsoft 365 have the ability where you can have what's called like a shared mailbox, where you can have, like, let's say a newsletter you send all the time. You can have the reply address for that newsletter go back to a box that everybody can access. But you want everybody to have their own individual accounts, especially nowadays with software as a service. A lot of software you're going to sign up for is going to require everybody to have their own individual login account and be able to receive emails individually, to be able to sign in and stuff or get codes sent to them. It's just good for accountability, tracking, definitely the way you want to go. You typically will also have a lot of, or not a lot, but a handful of ambiguous ones like no reply, info, sales. Those are easy to set up in these systems and have separate than your regular user mailboxes. And we'll talk a little bit about that too when we get to Microsoft 365. All right. Migrating. I've coached people through this so many times, and their biggest concern is, well, everybody's already got my old email address. How am I ever going to get away from that? I have hundreds of contacts in there and everybody knows it. So some residential services will have what you can do. It's called an automatic reply. And you can set that up on your mailbox saying, hey, this is no longer my email address. Please send all business communications going forward to this new place. And you just have it. Anytime somebody emails, it goes out and says that. It is hard. It definitely takes some planning. You're gonna have to use both in tandem, probably for a few months when you first set up your new email address with your business name. You're gonna have to watch both mailboxes. At some point in time, once it starts to get dwindled down, you can set it up to where anything that comes into the old email address, your old individual or personal account, forwards to the business email address that you set up. But, excuse me, this can be a real pain. It takes time. You want to go slow. Hopefully you have an IT coach, or a technical advisor helping you. I'd say probably the hardest part of all of this is going to be the data transfer. So let's say you want to get your old emails out of that old system, and you still need to have them and hold on to them, but you need them accessible in the new system so you can refer back to them very easy without having to jump around between systems. This is going to get really complicated here real quick, but somebody, hopefully an IT person, can help you set up that residential email in a program called Outlook, which is great for using email. It's the interface into the email mailbox. They can connect that to almost any mail out there, any pop email, IMAP. So Gmail works in there, everything works in there, and they can export that out to a file, and then they can take all that old email data and import it into your new one. Depending on what you used to be with, also, there's even online services that will just transfer it from one to the other. Microsoft will even do it a little bit. They have a built-in deal in theirs that's in by default that can kind of do it, but it takes a little bit of finessing. You definitely need somebody helping you that's an expert at that point. But yeah, so a lot of times you can export out the old data and import it into the new one. Now, you won't be able to reply back to those email addresses because they came to, another email address, not the one you have them, not the mailbox that they're sitting in, but you can always forward back to them again. So you can open that email, forward it to the new person, or back to the same person who originally emailed you, and kind of type in a response that way. Again, that's why you'll most likely have to use both systems for a while until you can get everything transitioned over. And it definitely takes time and effort. But I normally don't try to tackle that all in one big go as far as for your, getting people off of your old system to the new email address. It's just one of those things, like as you move forward, you keep using the new one. For every new account you sign up, you use the new one. For everything you're doing, you use the new one. You tell all your important clients and contacts, use this new one. I am not going to be watching that old one anymore. And eventually, typically is a while, but you draw a line in the sand and you shut that old mailbox down eventually. But yeah, you definitely want to plan things through, talk to your team. If you're, more than just a single person show, you definitely have to plan this out, coach everybody, and get them moving forward with it. It takes a lot of time. All right, core benefits of professional domain-based email. We've already talked about a lot of them, but more professional communications. It's a lot easier if you're using Microsoft 365, Google Business Apps, to have a nice, clean, business-looking signature. You can even enforce that signature across your whole organization if you want to, so that everybody in the company has a default signature on the email, which looks very nice sometimes, most of the time. But yeah, you're going to get that brand recognition and that customer confidence. When it comes from a domain name that is the name of the company, it just automatically gets you brownie points with that person. You wouldn't think so, but it gives people the ick when you're using a personal email address. This really does help boost your business relationships. I can't tell you, it brings you up to another level. It really does. And single person company all the way up to 100 plus people, you should definitely, hopefully if you're at 100 people, you're already off the personal residential email system. But some other really important benefits, especially if you're starting to work with an IT company and you're getting bigger and you're growing, is centralized user management. If everybody's going out to these websites and individually signing up for and I've seen this, signing up for their individual email account, like, oh, you just started, it's day one, great. Go to Gmail and create Bobby Sue whatever their name is, Bobby Sue dot the name of our company at gmail.com. You have absolutely no control over that. I mean, yeah, you're over their shoulder, you're telling them what to do, but in the long run, you don't have a centralized user management system. And Google Business Apps, Microsoft 365 both have that. Even if you just get email from a hosting provider, you will have that. Like you're just going directly with Network Solutions, directly with Bluehost, directly with, XYZ hosting company, and they're offering email. At least all your accounts will be in the same place. You can reset your users' passwords because people forget their passwords all the time. And if it's a residential personal account and they did one little mistake when setting it up, now you're locked out of that email forever, or it's a real big pain, a day of downtime trying to get back into that mailbox, a lot of productivity lost. If it's centrally managed, you can get back in the snap of a finger, reset a user's password, be like, here, get back in. Yeah. So along the same lines, simplified user onboarding. If you know everybody at your company's email is in control by you, you can, depict how it gets rolled out. It's always going to be the same experience for your users. You're going to be able to set the naming convention so that everybody's got the same formatted email address. It's all first initial last name at ourcompany.com. So much nicer. Scalable access control. This one's great. If somebody leaves your company and you need to lock them out, you want to ensure, more permissions across. You want to give somebody else access to somebody else's mailbox because they're going to be leaving in a few weeks, or they're in training and you need help with. They're going to need somebody else looking over their mailbox for them. Very easy to do in a higher end professional system. And when I say higher end, I'm not talking crazy dollars. Now let's talk Microsoft 365. So this is a snippet right from mine. This is one of the reasons I really like Microsoft 365. I'm still a fan of the Google, for Google Business system too. It's nice, but most companies that I see that have that end up having to get Microsoft apps anyways and paying Microsoft to get Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, no matter what. So it doesn't make sense to get just the email hosting and all of the Google Business apps, which they have their own version of Word and Docs and all that kind of fun stuff. And spreadsheets, but you're working with a client, they're using, something that's not compatible with it, or they want you in Word and Excel, and you're just stuck. So most companies I see have both then at that point, and you're paying for both solutions, and you're paying for all the software at both pretty much. Microsoft 365 has two flavors. They have Microsoft Basic and Microsoft Standard. Both come with the email hosting for the user, OneDrive for the user, Teams for the user, and the basic version has the online access to all the apps, so they can go log into a web portal, use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all that fun stuff right through a web portal. And then the standard version, which is a little bit more expensive, it's like around $12, $13 a month per person. You get all of the apps that can be installed on the local computer. I will say both have the ability to be on a cell phone. So at least start with basic. If you don't have a lot of employees, or they're not on a computer even, Basic is a great way to start. OneDrive is a great place to put your data. You can sync your documents up to there and everything. But then as an administrator, you're going to get tons of advanced security behind the Outlook. It's in a system called Exchange. That's the backend software that runs it all. So many perks. You can get add-in software. So like we like to add in, we throw in a backup system that takes the emails, OneDrive, Teams, all right out of Microsoft 365 and backs it up to a third party. There's cases where email boxes get corrupted, they get lost, they get deleted, emails get deleted, you don't know. Having that backup is key. If a bad actor gets into there, they can scramble up the data sometimes, and you want a backup to restore from, especially for things like SharePoint and yeah, just the Microsoft Basic subscriptions come with some really cool tools to help out small businesses, like Bookings. Bookings is a cool one. They gear it towards more like hair salons and stuff like that, but you can set up a bookings page that you can send to your clients, and they could sign up to, look at your calendar and pick a date to come in and book. And Clipchamps is kind of a fun one for making videos and editing videos. But okay, I'm going off on a tangent here. The email system. So the built-in Outlook from Microsoft has a lot of advanced features. In the background, you can actually get, they have data loss prevention, threat protection, and compliance management. So there's hundreds of policies you can set in the background on Microsoft 365 to protect your emails. Like things like for data loss prevention and compliance, you can set up a policy that says, hey, if you see a social security number or numbers formatted like a social security number, don't allow that email to go out. Don't let my employees send out credit cards through emails. We don't want to violate our PCI compliance for credit card processing. So with this business class email, you get all these kinds of protections and policies that you can put into the background. Not to mention, most security apps for businesses have a tie-in right into the backend system of Microsoft's email system. I said system too many times there, but basically you get your administrator, your IT person to help you. They can go and connect the app into the backend, and now everybody's mailbox is protected from the cloud down. Instead of having to try to put things on people's phones and, install this on your phone to protect your email or put this on your computer to protect your email. It's happening up at the server level instead of at your computer level. Now, this makes it a lot easier to roll out big initiatives when it comes to security to all your people really quickly. Can't do that with a personal email system. So, data loss prevention, compliance management. The compliance part is so huge. If you get caught using a residential email address and you're in a regulated industry, it's a huge risk. You do not want that. Can't say enough about that. All right, practical scenarios, tips for a successful transition. We already kind of went over most of these. Like I said, we're just going to keep this very conversational. So I probably got ahead of myself a few slides back, but you're really going to improve workflow efficiency when it comes to this. So we like to use a product on the back end that it's a zero trust product. So basically, we don't trust any emails that come into the system until it's been reviewed. And then once it's been reviewed, we can mark it as a trusted communication. And then from then on, it delivers normal to an inbox. So I know that sounds tedious. It's very automated and stuff. It's less tedious than it sounds, but you can really get some good workflows going with this. Like another cool thing you can do is set up distribution lists. So you can have, let's say you're running a special promo or initiative for a product. You can give it its own email address to go on that mailer that goes out or on that banner for the show you're going to be doing. And you can have that email address then automatically spider out to 5 different people. So you just kind of created a workflow there. Or you offboard an employee and you want to be able to give their mail to somebody else in the company. You could do what's called a free shared mailbox. And then you could just give that mailbox. You don't have to pay for a license for it anymore. It's free. And now you can give that whole entire mailbox all separated out to a delegate, and they can respond to emails, read all the emails, move them around, manipulate them, and use them without cluttering up their work already, So it makes it really nice where the new employee comes in to take over that position. You can give them the old employee's mailbox, but have it still be separate and not all, messing up their day one of their work and having to sift through 1,000 emails just to be able to use their own email. So the advanced security measures, we already talked about that. The professional brand presence, again, can't talk about how many brownie points you lose by having a personal email, be it AOL, Yahoo, Hotmail, come across someone's desk. Cannot stress that enough. You lose a lot of credibility. I've seen it firsthand. I've experienced it myself. Even I don't like it. I see it and I'm like, ugh. So common pitfalls, data loss risks, user resistance, and configuration errors. User resistance isn't one we talked about before, but you really got to get your employees on board and tell them some of these benefits and really get their buy-in. I've seen this in the past. We go through, it's a 10-person company or even a 20 people. That's a stretch. They're already off that stuff, but 10 and less, I've seen this before. I think the biggest company I've seen still using personal email accounts is probably 14. It was a roofing company. I had that changed out within the first 3 months of working with us. I was like, nope, this is not how you cannot do this. It was bad. But what I've seen in the past though, especially under 5, people just keep using their personal one. Well, everybody keeps emailing me there, and it's you as in ownership or you as the IT person to really push them to get the change done. And sometimes it's the carrot and the stick, but you got to do it. So effective communication can help ease that transition, explain to them all the benefits. Like, when we're successful, a rising tide, raises all ships, and our professionalism is going to go up. You're going to, if you have your personal email address on your business card, That's horrible. And, it doesn't give a new employee a lot of confidence when they see that either, So, it's just something you want to get away from. So configuration errors. This one, it's not overly complicated to get the business email going, especially if you just do a simple system and I don't want to say that Microsoft 365 is not simple. It can be very simple if you just use it right out of the box. It'll just pretty much work. But there's a lot of things we talked about. It can get very complicated if you make it, or if you have regulations. Once you start getting into like regulations, like HIPAA and all that kind of fun stuff, it definitely gets complicated. You definitely need a professional to help you with that, or it's going to be a lot of learning on your own time. But for the most part, they've made these systems very user-friendly to get set up. And if, like I said, if you're going with the hosting company, so let's say you get Network Solutions and you just get a package from them and it comes with email and you're just going to use their POP or IMAP email, they'll normally just configure it all for you. It's off to the races. But if you mess with the settings in there, you really can mess up your email system. There's also a few things, without getting too technical, called SPF and DKIM. And these are how, when you're emailing somebody, how their server authenticates that where the email originated from. So like your mail, where it came from, is really where it should be coming from. There's a lot of people out there spoofing people's email addresses. Spoofing is where like, I don't work at your company, but I set up an email server that sends as you and looks like it's you, but it's not you. Or I try to use your email domain name even. So xyz.com, let's say you own that one, and I set up a mail server in my garage, and now I'm emailing out as xyz.com. There's special records that can go in place on the hosting side that say only accept email if it came from my hosting company, not from some guy's garage. So really important stuff on those configurations to, give your emails that validity on the background and the security on the background, so that when people are getting it from you, they know it's coming from you and not some bad actor overseas or even in the States. It happens in the States too. We just had this happen the other day, and it happens a lot actually. And if you've ever been the victim of a phishing attack or a hack, you're on a list, and they're looking at your company, and they're going to try to set up email servers and do stuff. Not good. So definitely don't want configuration errors. There's a lot of security concerns that go into that. Just to get started, you're 1-2 people. Let the systems automatically set it up for you. Go with the easy system. Just get started. Scale your business. Start growing. Normally the bigger you get, the more you need to think about this stuff. It gets a little more complicated. I will say even small businesses are under attack. I've seen one-person shows get attacked. Doesn't matter what size you are, but you're a little smaller of a target, a little bit smaller, especially if it's a brand new domain name. Hopefully nobody knows it yet to attack it, but you don't want to rely on on just not being found. I couldn't say the word, sorry. You'd really want systems in place to protect you. It's like I said, 93% of cyber attacks are happening over email nowadays. So don't want configuration errors, please. That's how they could slip through, especially if you don't turn on like multi-factor authentication, all kinds of fun stuff. So in conclusion, we went over the importance of a professional email, how much it improves the security and business growth empowerment. Rick, being with these bigger companies like Microsoft 365, Google Business Apps, or Google Business, I don't remember exactly what they're calling it anymore. Sorry, we don't sell it, so I don't know that one as much. But I deal with it at some clients, but we don't really sell it that much, so I don't really know all the terms with them. But they'll help you scale. I've got companies that are, we've helped companies, not so much anymore. We've kind of gotten a little bit bigger now, but 5 to 10 users. You go up to, I've seen companies go from 5 or 10 employees to 30, 40, 50 employees, and we've helped them. And they're in these systems already, and just keep plugging in people, adding a license, plug in a person, add a license, plug in a person. And then there's a lot of other cool benefits that come with using these SaaS products, software as a service products like SharePoint and OneDrive. They give you places to store data that are cloud-based that you can share with people. There's just so much more than just email when it comes to these things. But get started with the email first, get off that personal email address, and then go from there. That's going to be the best place to start. And then hopefully you have somebody advising you on your IT, helping you push you into these scalable directions, helping you just get there with how to use these systems, because they can really become your superpower, really help your business be efficient and protected, and really give you that world-class, top-notch feel when you're working with your clients, and they trust you to have reliable communications. And it's no fun when you get compromised or somebody gets compromised and it's a personal email account. You can't get any support from the big company because they won't even talk to you, or you got to submit an email, and now some hackers in your emailing out 100 messages an hour, and you can't get support to help you get back into it because it's sending an email or wait in a chat room to talk to somebody. It's no fun. These business systems, you get compromised, you're in there, you get your IT people in there, or even you can log into your Microsoft portal, your Google portal, and instantly fix the problem. So can't talk about it enough. Here's a slide if you want to talk more about it. We work with small to mid-sized businesses here in the Valley. And, I really hope that you guys got some value out of this video. I appreciate all your time. I hope I didn't go too long here, and I really appreciate it. Don't forget also, Mesa Chambers has a submission on their website where if you're having technical questions or you just need guidance, you can actually reach out to them. Bob's in charge of that, and they get the emails, they read them, they meet once a month and talk about them, and they'll get back to you with guidance. So there's a lot of free resources out there, but find an IT technical champion to help your business, and it can help save you a lot of money in the long run too. I can't tell you how many times I've seen things set up poorly and it's not scalable, and then all of a sudden some boom happens in the business and they're growing like crazy, and now they're trying to play cleanup because they didn't do it right in the first place, and it's costing them thousands and thousands of dollars to fix it when it could have been easily avoided. So all right, everybody, have a good one. Hope you enjoyed this.